Hello everybody, thanks for clicking on the video. We had a really good, fun weekend full of football for this college football week 8. We had a lot of upsets. We had a lot of top 10 teams facing off. We had like the Buckeyes playing Penn State. We had shockers like USC lost again. So like I said, these are my thoughts on the top 25 list. We're getting into that point of the season where if you have 2 losses, you're not a top 25 team. Like, you're a top 25 team if you are undefeated or you have 1 loss. But we're getting to that moment in the season where things are starting to get set in stone. And, conference, championship game is kind of looking like, okay, we might have these 2 teams play. And the conversation for the college football playoff is getting a little louder with teams from 21, 22 all the way down to 25. Like, if they lose, they're out, Like, that's how it's been. So, like, with 25, I was torn between Toledo because they're 7-1, James Madison, they're undefeated, and then UNLV because they only have 1 loss. And it's like, okay, do we put a Mountain West team over an SEC team? There's so many outputs to this list, or do we sneak a team that was in the top 20 that lost and got their second loss? Do we have them hanging on? And that's the reason why these teams like James Madison or UNLV can't jump into the top 25. Like, I look at them and I just have to go with who's playing the best level of football. Simply put, doesn't matter if you're Mountain West, doesn't matter if you're MAC, Sam Houston, Weber State, At 25, sneaking in with their 6-1 record, I put the UNLV Rebels, which this might fluctuate. They might lose next week and you're out of here. All right, 24 is Liberty. They are undefeated, barely hanging on, even though I know a lot of people are going to have them still a lot higher. USC, they've lost back-to-back games. They got owned by Notre Dame last week, and then this week they lose another close one against Utah. That defense stinks. They are not going to go anywhere with Grinch as the defensive coordinator. Lincoln Riley, fire that man. 22 is Duke. They've lost to Notre Dame, and now they lose to Florida State, so they have 1 more shot. And if they lose again, they're out of the top 25. So they've come on some hard times recently from how the season started where they upset Clemson. All right, Louisville at 21. Very quiet ACC team that nobody's talking about. 20 is UCLA. I had Stanford upsetting them because Stanford had that amazing comeback against Colorado, but there's a difference. UCLA and how they play ball versus Colorado. So number 19 is Tulane. Number 18 is Air Force. Gotta give props to Air Force for still having an undefeated squad this far into the season. Even if they lose 1 game next week, I would still have them in the top 25 because, again, when you look at all the records and you look at the top 25 teams, they have one of the best records. All right, number 17, I have Missouri. Number 16, I have LSU. Personally, I already had LSU knocking out because they lost to Ole Miss and FSU, but they've turned it around. Number 15 is North Carolina. They got upset. I believe they were a top 10 team last week, and so I had them dropping down pretty far because you don't lose to a 1-win team in Virginia. You just don't, especially at home. Notre Dame was idle, so I had them going up to 14 when they were in that 15 spot. Same with Oregon State at 13. Utah, I have them at 12. We will see if they are a top 10 team after they beat Oregon. And that's the thing about this Utah squad is they're missing Cam Rising. They have been all season. And I think every single team that has played them has overlooked them because they're not playing with Cam Rising. And so here we are. USC overlooked them. 2nd string, 3rd string quarterback, whatever. Utes just showed up and got a thriller win in Southern California. Number 11 I have is Ole Miss. I think they need a little bit of chaos to happen to Alabama and LSU to go sneak in and play in the SEC championship game, probably against Georgia. So they are a New Year's 6 team as we look at it right now. Number 10 I have is Penn State. I have them dropping just because of how they played football against the Buckeyes. It was a sloppy game. Number 9 is Alabama. I have them cracking the top 10. They're starting to earn respect from everybody. Like, oh, and it's like, yeah, what do you expect? It's Nick Saban, it's Alabama. Number 8 I have is Oregon. They are still one of the top 10 programs in the country and a top 2, top 3 team in the Pac-12. Number 7 I have is Washington. They moved down for me personally because, they didn't score an offensive touchdown, but also a 1-5 Arizona State team. I've watched 3 games of Arizona State this year. Each game, whether it was USC, Colorado, now Washington, all these teams that have played them, and it's going to happen when they play Oregon, and it's going to happen when they play Utah. Everybody overlooks Arizona State because they are the bottom team in the Pac-12. And what happens? The Sun Devils play them close. Penix did not have a touchdown. He was bailed out by the defense, and so I have them dropping down. They are not a top 5 squad. I thought they were. They are not. Number 6 I have is Texas. Number 5 I have is Oklahoma. Gabriel played his former team. It was a close one. It was a shootout. It was tight. Oklahoma's starting to turn some heads, and they are starting to surprise me because I did not think that they could do this decent this season. I had them winning a lot of games, but the win against Texas and this close win right now, the Sooners are starting to come into form where they can win close ball games. All right, number 4 is Florida State. They handled business against the Blue Devils and escaped with a win, so they stay in the top 4. Ohio State, same thing. Escaped, handled business in Big Ten play, so they are the number 1 team in the Big Ten. Because Michigan at 2, I wouldn't say they are the number 1 team in the Big Ten because who have they played? I said the Sparty game would be close because, it's a rivalry game. But they ended up blowing the doors off of them. 49, I believe, 42, something, to nothing. To me, Michigan, they have not played a solid team yet. They have not played that team that's going to give them fits. And so, if you throw Michigan against Penn State right now, I don't think Michigan would be ready because they haven't played those tough games like the Nittany Lions have. So that's why when there's the split of Michigan State plays on the road against Penn State, Michigan State, and I think it was no, it wasn't Iowa. There's another one in there before the Buckeye game. I was like, they're going to lose one of these games. Like, they're not going to win both, and they're not going to win all 3 against Sparty, the Nittany Lions, and the Buckeyes. So we'll just have to see. And then number 1 is Georgia. They took the week off, kicked their feet back. Those are my thoughts on the top 25. I'll catch you all in the next video. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.